False doctrines. Prophecies and revelations given to Luz de Maria. The Blessed Virgin Mary speaks. August 20, 2018. My children, the flood of this time is not a deluge of water, it is a deluge of ideologies that Satan is hurling towards humanity so that you would be lacking in conscience and submit yourselves to the will of the infernal dragon and his empire, the strongest tentacle of that dragon on earth being Freemasonry. July 2, 2018. The path of my children is difficult in this sea of multiple ideologies, religions and sects, although by the hand of my Son and fulfilling the law of God, bound to the work and action of my Son, difficulty is transformed into an obstacle to be overcome in order to be perfected in being true Christian. The path is not easy, but it can be traveled with faith. March 6, 2018. I grieve at seeing my children suffering the consequence of having supported communist ideologies that at this instant hold them trapped in their nets. My children pray, yes, but not with their heart, powers and senses. They pray within a pattern that is far from spiritual. They pray by repetition, almost from memory, with which they do not find what they seek, as you do not find my Son in repetition, but in the surrender of the heart. May 16, 2018. Humanity finds itself facing the expansion of the tentacles of the infernal dragon, and they do not glimpse it because of living with indifference, unfaithfulness, immorality, corruption, lies, falsehood, appearances, inhuman conduct, the imposition of false ideologies in order to enjoy the supposed freedom that only leads you to be followers of Eve, serving it within Satan's field of action. This is deadly for the soul. Yet my children rapidly forget my Son's sacrifice in order to adhere to the innovations of worldly levity. April 16, 2018. I call you to save your soul now. No, do not flirt with evil, as this is not for the wise, but the ignorant who do not wish to improve their relationship with divine love, but are satisfied with being mediocre in everything, but above all in what is spiritual. Being creatures of half measures leads you to become lukewarm creatures, and the lukewarm are vomited out of the mouth of the Father, Revelation 3:15-16. So many reforms, so many false ideologies and false religions existing on earth at this instant are direct, reliable and clear evidence of the instance in which you are living. You cannot continue with your eyes blindfolded, your hearts hardened and your ears plugged. Feel, breathe, be sensitive, as creation is crying out to man that this is the defining instant. January 20, 2018. This generation is plunged in loveless, moral debauchery, lack of faith, social decadence, incongruity of concepts and norms, spiritual defiance, the acceptance of evil ideologies, mental numbness, in the loss of values and in the denial of God. These are some examples about human disrespect towards the will of God, about how man constructs his passage on earth in all respects, and about his relationships with his brothers and sisters, and the creation surrounding him. January 14, 2018. The bad instructions and the permissive and improper concepts of some ideologies have hardened hearts so that they manifest themselves against all that is good, and thus the devil has succeeded in that man besmirches what is sacred. January 8, 2018. My beloved ones, I am eternal love for all those who welcome me as such. You must not depart from spirituality, you must not be attached to false ideologies. I see you looking for the way to my Son, but you are walking down wrong paths that separate you from the truth and take you to the clutches of the devil. You are embarking on dangerous paths, dangerous practices, opening your minds so that they are invaded by the allies of evil. June 4, 2017. The evil one has set out to fight against the missions my Son has entrusted to the faithful instruments of this instant. He does not want the explanation of the divine word to be known, bringing disease down upon my children who are giving everything to keep the word of heaven in front of humanity so as to warn you and motivate you regarding the soul's salvation. In some instruments he has implanted conceit so that they come to feel that they know everything, even the slightest whisper of their brothers, and about the events. He makes others think that they alone will be saved because only those who are beside a specific instrument are working and acting correctly. The evil one sows confusion and leads you to admire communist leaders and to use communist signs so that you then easily accept ideologies contrary to the divine will and go astray. March 18, 2017. How much this generation has changed by falling into the hands of the devil and being pulled along by the powerful who have united in order to lead this generation to prostrate itself at the feet of the Antichrist. And that is why I invite you once again to look up so that you do not forget that you belong to the Father's house, not to the false ideologies growing at this instant all over the earth. Therefore, after the Antichrist appears publicly, making himself known, not by himself but through his henchmen, the angel of peace will come from the Father's house, who is not a prophet but the one whom I have announced over the years in my previous apparitions. April 5, 2016. My children, do not follow false teachers who confuse you with ideologies that are not in the Scripture. Do not forget that my Son's kingdom is forever and for all generations. March 26, 2016. You, my children, must maintain clarity of the senses, clarity and knowledge so that the mind and the reason will lead you to the desire and the determination to be better each instant, for your own good and for the good of all humankind, and because of the determination you will become faithful. Children, I want the heart to burn in desire to get away from falsehoods that you may hear, and from the deviations to which materialism, negative ideologies, and the devil himself present to you as attractive in order to take you as his prey. March 23, 2016. The cruelty of those who have their senses, their feelings, and their hearts clouded with false promises of ideologies contrary to the true love that my Son has taught will be more serious each instant, and the laments of the innocent do not move the hearts of stone. Children, do not see from a distance that which will spread all over the world until man lies imprisoned in his own home. January 3, 2016. Human impiety results from the automation of man who, for lack of knowledge and to avoid thinking, allows the current of the world to drag him, leading him to accept all ideologies and to make them his own. Masses rise by the power of men without a conscience, and man acts in response, reacting to what he sees without reasoning, without using his intelligence, without any love for his fellow men. This way he transforms into an unrecognizable being that does not seem to be God's creation. January 28, 2016. I strongly call you to remain alert, with lit candle and the best of oils. The devil remains in a constant battle against my children, and you must be able to distinguish what belongs to God from what belongs to the devil. With a false doctrine, the devil arrived and introduced himself in my Son's church and, at this instant, attracted over humankind the Satanism from ancient Babylon to make it public, and to have it practiced openly. This has been the purpose of those who have remained within the groups that surreptitiously call themselves clubs, mafia, sects, secret societies, new ideologies, new era, which have dragged ancient rites and involving those who are lukewarm and indifferent. November 28, 2015. You will not reach the correct path and you will not become better if you do not approach my Son and decide to change radically. I give myself to my children. I do not abandon my children. Instead, I guide my children because I see a weak faith, and the responsibility does not fall entirely on my Son's mystical body. Some of the depositories of the ministerial priesthood have not instilled in my Son's people the responsibility of knowing the divine word, nor have they alerted their communities about the power and control of evil over those who embrace false ideologies that take them to detach themselves from my Son for not obeying the divine law and for placing themselves in the hands of Eve. My Son's people are driven away from my calls. They are invited to enter and get involved with the modernism that leads humanity to the abyss of perdition when they accept all that is contrary to my Son's call and to God's law. The hardness of the human heart will become so extreme that blood will make more thirsty all those who remain away from my Son involved in ideologies contrary to the divine word. October 8, 2015. I do not want hastened prayers. From each of you I want prayers from the heart for each of you and for humankind in general. Each instant great dark clouds fog up minds, thoughts and will of the politicians who are prepared to go to war. My maternal heart suffers for it. I am in pain for the innocent who suffer, for each human creature sacrificed to an ideology. September 9, 2015. Beloved children, in the Holy Scripture man finds what the future holds for him.